Hey everybody, welcome to our Facebook Live. I'm Ian Palmquist. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Senior Director of Programs at Equality Federation, and really excited to be here today with these great folks. Today is both Giving Tuesday and World AIDS Day, and so we wanted to bring folks together to highlight some of the work that's happening, both around HIV and more broadly in the LGBTQ movement. Folks aren't familiar with Equality Federation. We're the national partner to a network of 42 statewide organizations all around the country who are the folks who are really winning equality for us in the communities that we all call home. Today we're going to be joined by my colleague Deirdre Johnson and folks from our members at Equality Virginia. We have so many amazing member organizations around the country and really excited to highlight some of the work that's going on in Virginia in particular today. It is World AIDS Day today, and I think it's really important to take a moment and acknowledge all of the folks that we've lost over the years, the folks we've lost due to government inaction throughout this pandemic. And also to remember all of the survivors and to honor the survivors and the folks who are continuing to fight this every day and to celebrate the work that's going on to end this epidemic once and for all. So just to kick us off, I'd like to invite our panelists to introduce themselves. Deirdre, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Deirdre, coming to you live from Virginia. Yes. And I'm excited to be presenting with my colleagues here at Equality Federation, as well as Equality Virginia, on the amazing work that we are doing. I am actually the HIV coordinator for Equality Federation, and I'm excited to speak with you all today.
Thanks so much. Andaiye.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andaiye. I use she and her pronouns, and I am the Policy and Communications Coordinator at Equality Virginia. It is an honor to be here with you all today, to be celebrating World AIDS Day, and to be recognizing the importance of what today means for us as a statewide organization, but also for the folks who are actively doing this work every day on the ground. And so thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Andaiye. And Vee.
Hello, good afternoon. Depending on where you are in the country, my name is Vee Lamneck. I use they and them pronouns, and I am the Executive Director of Equality Virginia, and I am thrilled to be here this afternoon with you.
Thanks. So to kick it off, I just wanted to start by asking, why is World AIDS Day so important, not just in general, but this year in particular? Why is World AIDS Day so important to recognize and honor? Anybody want to jump in first?
Sure, I'll hop right in there. It's super important. I love that there is a theme every year for World AIDS Day. I think it helps to ground us in the work that we have to do. This year's theme is ending the HIV/AIDS epidemic, resilience and impact. And as we've been leading up to today, I've been thinking a lot about resiliency and a lot about the impact of this work, the impact of the HIV modernization bill that we are introducing into session this year. Really, that impact cannot be understated, and we will only be successful because of the contributions and the resiliency of folks with lived experience, because of the many people who have been advocating for HIV modernization, not only in Virginia, but across the country. So I've really just been thinking a lot about this theme this year, resiliency and impact.
Anyone else want to jump in on that?
I think it's really important to start to eradicate stigmas and start to dismantle systems that have been oppressive, especially when we look back just even as far as Stonewall and then moving forward through the Ryan White and the HIV/AIDS epidemic of the 80s and 90s, and how we have now moved to where we're criminalizing and decriminalizing and repealing and modernizing laws to make sure that everyone is living and have equitable rights and justice across the board. So it's amazing to look at our past, like in Sankofa, to look at our past to see where our future is going to be. And I believe not only just in Virginia, but across the country and the world, our future is bright, and it's amazing just by looking at the resilience and the impact that it has all continued to create and will cause.
I definitely agree. I think today is a day that calls for celebration. I think it gives a great opportunity to speak to how far we've come as a country, as a world, how far the science has come, how far our advocates have come. But it also gives a great opportunity to see that there is so much work still left to be done in this work, right? Every time I walk away from our calls with folks who are doing this work, I walk away feeling empowered, and I walk away learning something new. And so I see today as a great opportunity to educate not only ourselves, but to continue to educate the broader community, and educating in spaces where we're not having these conversations. And so I am grateful to have like a platform like this to be able to educate folks.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe starting with you again, why should an LGBTQ organization be engaged in this fight? Why is Equality of Virginia a part of this? And
I would say for me, I think it's so important that we do this work because we serve a diverse population, right? And we know that this epidemic impacts an underserved population within our community. And so we have an amazing platform over at Equality Virginia that I'm so grateful for, and being able to use our platform to uplift the voices of folks who are doing this work, being able to lift up different either Black-led organizations, trans-led organizations that are currently out in the community, making sure folks are being tested, making sure folks know their status is really, really important to me. And so using our platform as a state-based organization to just uplift the voices of folks who are already doing this work is probably the biggest and most important thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I know, at Equality Federation, we've been thinking about, the LGBTQ movement and the HIV movement were so intertwined at one point, and it felt like that sort of like pulled apart at some point over the last few years. And it's so important that we're together again now. The work is just too important. Deirdre, you look like you wanted to jump in on that.
No, I completely agree with what Andaiye said, because it's really vital that we know what our communities look like, and we're always working to make sure that all communities are served, and especially right now in the task of underserved communities, and making sure that everybody's involved in that process, because we're not alone. We're together in this process, working with all of our communities.
Deirdre, sticking with you, maybe going a little more specific. I know you, before you came on the Federation team, have been leading work in Virginia to modernize the HIV criminalization law there, and co-chairing the coalition that's been driving that work. Could you tell us a little bit about criminalization and why the efforts to modernize are so important?
Yes, the blessing has been that I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Cedric Pulliam, and we co-created and co-founded Ending Criminalization of HIV and Over-Incarceration in Virginia. And it's a little small coalition, but we were founded in 2018, had our strategic planning November 2018. And one of those things was to educate and let folks know about the current laws and statutes that are in Virginia. And one of those being the infectious sexual battery law that is inclusive of those Virginians that are living with HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis. And with disclosure, you need to make sure that you are disclosing. And if not, then that is a class 1 misdemeanor. And if there is proof of intent, then that's a class 6 felony. And so we wanted to make sure that our laws were in line with science, because we know right now that our laws are very archaic, and to specifically point out those specific 3, HIV, hepatitis B, and syphilis, is just completely just point blank wrong. And at the end of the day, it's that we're penalizing folks for health public health issue and not for other issues, and that's just not right. And so we have been blessed to work with Positive Women's Network, CERO Project, and we were introduced to Equality Virginia, and they have been very helpful in helping us to move forward with the bill that we have drafted. Although in January of this year, there was a previous bill that was attempted to go through our General Assembly. Those in our HIV community said, nope, that is not good enough. It's not moving far enough. And we were able to kill that particular bill. And now we're in the process of writing and drafting a community-led bill. And actually, I can't say we're writing a draft. Well, we're in draft mode because as of 2 weeks ago, please correct me, Andaiye and Vee, this particular bill that has been community-led was pre-filed by someone here in our General Assembly. So now we're in, I guess, draft mode to change some of the things that were brought to our attention. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to work with Vee and Andaiye on this whole process because together we've been able to reach in spaces that some folks didn't even know we should be able to reach into, but to work together as a tribe and a community has been the best thing that has ever happened, not just to Echo Virginia, but to all Virginians across the Virginia area.
Thanks so much. Andaiye, can you tell me a little bit about how Equality Virginia is supporting this work as we're heading into legislative season in another month or so here?
Yes. So as Deirdre mentioned, we have been working with them as partners in change to help push this bill forward. As we mentioned before, we did try to push forward a bill, a similar bill last year. But it was not what folks needed. It was not community-led. And so we've been really intentional in the educational space this time around. We are making sure that our outreach is very strategic and we're hitting the right communities or the communities that need to be touched or tapped into as we move forward. We know that there are a lot of stigma around what HIV means. And so we are really focusing on educating the community through events like this one, through the event that we held today, through previous events that we held in the fall, just to make sure that folks we're continuing to have these conversations. So are continuing to be aware about what is going on, not just with the bill, but just with modern science today. So that is like our biggest thing. It's really using our platform again to focus on the educational component, have events, building community partnerships with medical experts and community leaders and community advocates and folks with lived experiences to make sure that they're the ones telling their stories. And we're not saying it for them. Making sure we give them the platform to do so. And like Deirdre mentioned, we're working on solidifying our bill sponsor. And so that is really exciting. And we are just using what we can do as an organization with our connections to make sure we're connecting folks to where they need to be connected. And so I'm really excited about that, the work that we're doing here.
I love that. I mean, yeah, this whole work that the Federation's been doing around HIV for the last few years is really built around this idea of following the lead of people living with HIV and the advocates who have been doing this work on the ground for year after year, but bringing the political power and the network and the capacity for public education that folks like Equality Virginia and our other members around the country have to support those efforts. And it's so exciting to see it coming together as it has so beautifully in Virginia. So zooming out a little bit from HIV specifically, this is Giving Tuesday, and want to highlight some of the other work that the Federation does as well. For folks who'd like to contribute to Giving Tuesday, we would really appreciate your contribution. The link is at the bottom of the screen there, eqfed.org/givingtuesday2020. So Vee, I wanted to ask you, we've gotten to work together a lot since you came on as executive director about a year ago. And I'd love to hear how the Federation's support has made a difference for you and your leadership and for Equality Virginia.
Yes, I could talk about this all afternoon, actually. And so I'll kind of talk about myself, I'll talk about our board, and then I'll talk about our staff. So one of the things that immediately happened once I moved into the executive director position in January was that I was able to work with Deanna as in an executive coaching capacity. And that was really great. We were right in the middle of our General Assembly session. It was pre-COVID, but still just incredibly busy and hectic, and having Deanna's guidance and support was incredibly helpful for me as I stepped into that role. Our board actually got to work with you, Ian, for our strategic visioning process, which was incredibly helpful and useful as well. So after our legislative achievements during the General Assembly session, we had an opportunity to think about what's next for Equality Virginia. What does that look like? And having you, Ian, facilitate many conversations, facilitate many breakout rooms, and the follow-up calls and the debriefing. You were just really so integral to that process. And I'm not sure that we would have been as successful with the development of our strategic plan without your support. And then also from a staff perspective, Andaiye came on in middle of July, and our development and operations coordinator also started in July of this year. And then our program director has been with us for 2 years. And this year we all actually got to participate in the Equality Federation Summer Conference. It was, I think we were all sad that we weren't able to be there in person, but actually having it digitally meant that everyone could participate in that conference, which was incredibly helpful, I think, especially for both Andaiye and Mario as new staff members. So, they got to meet other folks doing similar work in state equality groups across the country and get to learn from their experiences, build connection, commiserate, celebrate success. I think it's just been incredibly helpful to have that nationwide system of support across the board. And I know it's been helpful for me as well to be part of the executive director cohort too. I never knew Slack before the Equality Federation, so definitely been enjoying that. So yeah, definitely from personal growth to our board's work to our staff's development, Equality Federation has been incredibly helpful.
Thanks for letting me fish for compliments there.
Anytime.
It's really been such a joy getting to work with Equality Virginia over the last year for me personally and other folks on our team. And that's really what our work is all about. We don't come with our own agenda. It's really all about helping folks like Equality Virginia and Basic Rights Oregon and Equality Florida and our members all over the country do the work that they're already doing, but take it to the next level. And so we're really thrilled to be able to support that work. Deirdre, back to you for a minute. I'm working with you on a project right now around engaging some of our members in the Ending the Epidemic work. And I'd love if you could say a little bit about the states we're working with and where we're trying to go with that program.
Yeah, and of course, it's been an amazing partnership working with you all on this whole process. This is what we have been doing is working in the states of Oklahoma, Missouri, and Texas, and getting them connected to the folks that are on the ground, that are doing the work for ending the epidemic, the ETE plan, as well as the ending the HIV epidemic plan, the EHE plan. And thus far, we have been quite successful, if I may maybe toot our own horn just a wee bit. And another reason why, this Giving Tuesday is even so more important is the fact that we're able to get in spaces that are able to support the EHE and the ETE plans. I know specifically in Oklahoma, we're working with organization. We're actually working with a clinic that is working very hard, and they have looked and did a needs assessment on how they are reaching communities and realized that our communities are not being reached and they wanted to do better. So I really have to give a high five to them for doing what they're doing and saying, hey, we're not good at this, and here's what we're trying to do to fix it, and coming up with solution based. And they have been working really closely with Ali, who's in Oklahoma, and that has been an amazing process to see that happen. And that partnership is going to extend into the 2021 year. And when we're there, we'll also be reaching out to college students as well in their whole process. Definitely in Missouri, we've been working closely with the criminalization efforts that have been happening there and interjecting ourselves as complements to all of the work that's already being there with promo and with Stephen and the things that are happening there. And then definitely in Texas, we're probably, I don't know if I'm all excited about them all, but in Texas, we're really excited about the fact that we are going to be reaching out and looking forward to working very closely with our, with the community that is of an experience of trans men experience. So that part is like giving me so much joy. And in addition to all of that, being in the underserved communities that we had talked about earlier. And again, this is why your contribution to Giving Tuesday is important to not just Equality Virginia, but also Equality Federation, because it helps these programs thrive. So be on the lookout, get ready for what's going to happen, not just for the rest of the year, but also for 2021. Some amazing connections and collaborations and coalitions are being formed in Oklahoma, Texas, and Missouri. So you better get ready.
Yes, thank you. Deirdre always brings the most enthusiasm to our work, and it brightens my day every time. We're doing such great work there, and I'm really excited to be partnering with Freedom Oklahoma, Promo in Missouri, and Transgender Education Network of Texas, three amazing members that we get to work with. We definitely want to ask folks today on Giving Tuesday to consider supporting Equality Virginia, who had huge wins already this year and are heading into another legislative session to rack up some more, we hope. At equalityvirginia.org/donate, and of course supporting Equality Federation as well if you can at eqfed.org/givingtuesday2020. I'm so excited about this moment, here on World AIDS Day, that we really are at a point where we can end this epidemic. Like, the tools are there. We know that undetectable equals untransmittable, meaning that if viral loads are suppressed, people living with HIV cannot transmit the virus. We know that we have tools like PrEP available, which is a pill that folks can take daily that's incredibly effective at preventing transmission of HIV. The tools are there. The federal government, stepping up in some ways, can go further. And we're really committed to working with our members, as Deirdre was saying, around the country, to make sure that state and local health departments are taking this work very seriously and doing everything we can with federal and with state resources to end this epidemic once and for all. And we're also calling on the Biden administration, when they take office in January, to really step up the plans that the CDC and other federal agencies have put out around ending the HIV epidemic, and bring about an end to epidemic status in this country by 2025. The tools are there. It just takes the political will. And that's why the organizing that our members and our HIV partners all around the country, local, state, and federal, are so critical right now. Before we wrap up, Vee, I just mentioned that y'all had a pretty good year. Would you tell us a little bit about your last legislative session for folks who maybe haven't been paying attention to Virginia? Just so amazing to see what you accomplished there.
Will I? Yeah. It was an incredible year. I think we're still kind of almost in disbelief in how much we were able to accomplish and talk about the importance of community work. In so many ways, we were just kind of, you know, the bus, and everyone just kind of piled in a bus, and we all drove down to the General Assembly together and had so many conversations. I mean, thousands and thousands of people got behind the effort to pass fully comprehensive non-discrimination protections for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people in Virginia. Whew, still really fun to say that. It's truly life-changing. It's had an incredible impact. And also, you know, there's so much more work that does need to be done. We know that even though that legislation has been passed, doesn't mean a switch has been magically flipped and suddenly people feel safe and comfortable in their communities. There's lots more work to be done. But going back to our successes from this past year, we not only passed non-discrimination protections, but we also banned conversion therapy for minors. We expanded hate crimes law. We added a third gender marker to driver's licenses. We protected transgender students in K through 12 schools. We repealed the ban on marriage equality from the Virginia Code. And there's a handful more, actually, believe it or not. So it was really just this incredible landmark year, which would not have been possible without the thousands and thousands of folks who took time to come down to our General Assembly to meet with our legislators personally, who sent in emails, responded to every action that we sent, you know, did the phone calls. We were also really happy to work in coalition with our partners at the Human Rights Campaign, Freedom for All Americans, the National Center for Trans Equality. And that was just incredibly important to have that support as well, to move non-discrimination protections forward. So it was a community effort statewide for sure, and we certainly appreciated the love and support from everyone across the country. We definitely felt it, and it very much buoyed us in some of the darker, more frustrating moments of the General Assembly this past session. But we did it, and we are committed to continuing this work to make sure that everyone feels like they can thrive in Virginia, feel celebrated, like really fully contributing members in their communities and their schools and their workplaces. There's a lot more work that needs to be done. So, yeah.
Yeah, congratulations again. I'm a North Carolinian personally, and seeing non-discrimination finally pass in a southern state is just huge. I mean, and I think people need to realize that, like, there was this huge tipping point this year and you got all these wins, but you know, that doesn't just happen magically. Equality Virginia has been working for more than a decade to build the support, to educate the public, to build the relationships with legislators on both sides of the aisle, to do the kind of organizing that helps elect a pro-equality majority. And that's what really pays off, and that's the work that Equality Federation is trying to support with Equality Virginia and with our members all over the country, whether they've reached that wonderful tipping point that you hit this year or not, because we know that other states can get there, you know, even in the South, which people sometimes doubt, but we really can make that happen. It just takes that sustained work of building that support.
And you know what? This is why it makes me proud to be a Virginian. Because I mean, I was born in Virginia, not necessarily raised. I was a military brat, but my family remained here, and both of my parents are from this area. And to see, I won't tell how many, enough years ago to where we were and where we are now, it really makes me proud to be a Virginian, to see the not only equality, but equity that is happening over the past 40 years, 45 to be exact, but see to see the change. And that makes ECHO excited to work with Equality Virginia, because we see the change, because they want to be the change, and we want to be a part of that process.
Deirdre, I just want to toot Echo VA Coalition's horn one more time, because it has truly been, I mean, this is the definition of partnership. And we're so lucky to be working with you, both in your capacity as a co-chair of Echo VA Coalition, but also in your role at the Equality Federation. Your labor and expertise and dedication and love for this work makes what we do possible. And it's your vision that we're really following. We're, you know, we're following you and your lead. And we're just so glad that you asked us to partner with you in this. So thank you.
Love it.
We ain't crying today, V. Don't get me stuck. We ain't crying today, V.
Well, before I give our wonderful panelists the last chance to share any final thoughts that you might have, I want to invite people again to go to equalityvirginia.org/donate or eqfed.org/GivingTuesday2020 to support these great organizations on Giving Tuesday. Wrong Giving Day, on Giving Tuesday. And, you know, consider also supporting our member in whatever state you're in. You can find them on our website at equalityfederation.org. Would love for you to support those organizations as well. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, folks?
Thank you.
All right.
Great.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you. Give. Till you can't give no more.
Thank you all so much. And thanks, folks who joined us watching this live. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you.